What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's two-game slate. A game one in New York, followed by a game two in Denver between Minnesota and Denver. And despite it just being a two-game slate, there's actually a good bit of injury information to diagnose here. With me to talk through it, as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you doing?
Doing great. Enjoyed the weekend. Nice little game seven. Pretty fun game. Nice comeback. Game one lived up to the billing. Ant-Man literally bought an Anthony Edwards jersey after watching game one. I was like, I love this dude. I got to buy his jersey. So yeah, really enjoyed the two games we had over the weekend. Excited for the week ahead though. Got a series two, should be fun. We just recorded the podcast previewing the second round. So yeah, a lot of money down. Hopefully it's as profitable as round one was.
As a jersey buyer, are you a jersey wearer? What's your approach with jerseys? Because I know a lot of people have very strong takes on jersey culture.
Yeah, sometimes I wear just jerseys when I'm going hiking or at pools. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am at the stage of life where I am only t-shirt jersey because nobody needs to see the palest of pale, undefined arms of Drew
Yeah,
Dinkmeyer. Nobody needs to see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
My wife doesn't even want to see
Hiking pools
that.
at the
So yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
or yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and then I get into, should I get a t-shirt jersey? But like a t-shirt jersey, am I too much of a child if I'm getting a t-shirt
Yeah,
jersey? So I get stuck in these spots. I do have a Jokic jersey. Someone bought that for me after I recommended the Jokic MVP bets to them a few years ago. So I do have a Jokic jersey, but I think that's my only current NBA player jersey that I own currently.
10 to 15, I want to say.
Yeah. Leone is the big jersey guy at ETR. He's got like he loves the jerseys. All right, let's get into the games. All right. I'm just noting that I'm getting in a message from StreamYard saying that they're having trouble streaming to YouTube. And it may be an issue on YouTube's end. We'll keep trying to let you know if it's resolved. Please check YouTube to ensure the stream looks okay. So if you're out there watching us and in the chat and can see us on YouTube, please let us know. Because it seems like StreamYard is telling us that nobody can see this on YouTube. Stream looks okay. All right, we'll keep going then, Nico.
Cool.
Thank you. All right, perfect. We'll keep going.
All right. Appreciate the comments.
Game by game stuff. Let's start with Indiana and New York. On the Indiana side, Tyrese Haliburton is questionable here. Benedict Mathurin out. What are your expectations for Tyrese Haliburton as he continues to deal with these low back spasms?
Yeah, they closed it out on Thursday. We saw him again. Back wrap had the little tool he's using to work on his rotation of his back. So clearly he's not 100%, or at least we should say he wasn't 100%. Being off Friday, Saturday, Sunday probably helped him. Besides, minutes were mostly capped. They weren't really shooting for 40s like they were prior to the back injury. So yeah, not great. Matchup is going to be a little bit tougher here. I think Beverly was pretty good overall, but Beverly was also limited. So yeah, that's a pretty big story. He has to be 100% here, and I don't know if he's going to be. So pretty big deal here. And then just in general, the matchup is so much tougher here. We'll see how Indiana's depth is going to be tested. We saw them go really small. You and I actually are a little bit view this a little bit differently. I don't think they can go small. I'll let you kind of set up your end. I'll set up mine. I just don't think they can afford to give up rebounding. I think Rick Kyle would hate to see what the Knicks did to the Sixers in the games they won when they had a 70% offensive rebounding in a fourth quarter. So I think they play a little bit bigger in the second unit. And then I'll set you up for the small stuff, the benefits there. But I just don't think they want to afford the rebounding edge. They were 26 in defensive rebound rate on the year. I think they've got to shore that up and limit the second chance points possession battle overall. But yeah, also Pascal Siakam going to run into a tough matchup. He'll be guarded by OG Anunoby. And then Nembhard will have perhaps one of the toughest assignments on the planet in guarding Jalen Brunson. But yeah, if you want to go ahead on why you think the Pacers go a little bit smaller in the second unit.
Yeah, I want to save some of the rotation stuff for the DFS stuff behind the paywall, but I'll just note that just generally, because I do think game one is different than the series and whatnot. So I don't want to go too in depth, but I'll just note that generally, you mentioned they were 26th in offensive rebound rate allowed this season. Who did they play at backup center most of the time during the season to accumulate that 26th rating? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly Jalen Smith.
And Isaiah Jackson, right? So, like, my thought process is, like, solving the rebounding issue anyway. So I don't know if I don't know if that's going to be the solution to it. And they just
Mhm.
played Obi Toppin at center in the first round lineups. Those worked really well by being able to play
Yep.
fast with big guys. And so I think they're just going to stick with kind of what worked well in the
Mhm.
last. But obviously, one of the challenges of analysis as you're going from series to series is the series are different, the matchups are different, and that leads to teams playing differently. So we have to kind of guess at this stuff until we see how it plays out. We can talk through once we see how it plays out, what adjustments will look like and whatnot. But my thought process is, especially in the Obi Toppin revenge spot against the Knicks, effectiveness at the five in the last series and the speed with which they were able to play in those possessions that he was on the floor carries over into this series. But that's obviously like a big question mark in terms of how Indiana's back end rotation plays between whether we go from Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson being completely iced as they were last series to, or, what it's like in the early season, which was Jalen Smith playing like all the bulk of the backup center minutes and being really effective for most of the regular season in that spot. So I think that's definitely a big spot to watch tonight. Okay, let's move to the New York side of things where Bojan Bogdanovic and Julius Randle are both out. We saw the Knicks close out the Philadelphia 76ers with really, really tight rotations at the end of that series. We know that Tom Thibodeau is not concerned about the depth of his rotations. But I will note, just as series get going, there's a difference between projecting teams at the very end of series in games 5, 6, 7 in terms of the high end minutes for the starters and the very beginning of series. Oftentimes, teams look to try to reset, try new things early in the series. And so I think there's a chance we could see some like Alec Burks tonight. Uh, I don't think it's a big chance, but I think there's a chance that we see some stuff like that as we see maybe New York pull back a little bit on the mega minutes for the main guys. But that's really the only thing I'm watching out here for from the Knicks perspective. What are your notes for the Knicks tonight?
Yeah, don't have too much to say. Yeah, they're going to be back on Wednesday. I think they're going every other day in this series. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they add in OG Anunoby. I think he'll probably get some minutes today. I don't think they're going to run at 7 or almost
Whoa,
like
whoa,
6.
whoa. Add in OG
I'm sorry.
Anunoby.
I'm
They've got
sorry.
plenty of OG Anunoby minutes.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Preston Chua. My bad. Yeah, I mentioned OG's going to guard Pascal, but I think Precious will kind of back up OG Anunoby to fill some minutes at the forward, give him a little bit of size. I think the Knicks are going to play a little bit bigger. My mistake on the slip up there. And then Mitch, and then Deuce. That'll kind of be their core 8. You mentioned maybe Alec Burke sneaks in, but yeah, starters
Yeah.
plus Precious Achua, Mitch Robinson, and Deuce McBride. I expect them to go pretty full. And then yeah, the health is great. Jalen Brunson, we saw him get dinged up. He's been fine. OG Anunoby has been pretty durable as well. Dante DiVincenzo kind of shockingly played 48 after really getting cut down leading up to that. So, yeah, Josh Hart maybe won't play 48 this time. Maybe he's going to be 41, 42, 43. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think they kind of, especially with the pace, I think they kind of
Yeah.
go 8-man, which is deep for them.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's go to Minnesota and Denver. Minnesota, this one popped up right before we went on the
Mm-hmm.
air here as Rudy Gobert is questionable due to personal reasons. Noted he was not seen at shoot around. The suspicion here is the birth of a child because there was a quote from earlier in the season that he
Yep.
would be comfortable missing a playoff game in that scenario. There's no, I don't believe I've seen confirmation from that from the beats other than just the quote from earlier in the season. So the only thing that I saw was the beats saying that they didn't see Rudy at shoot around.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the world is Rudy Gobert? Who knows at this point? Do you have any information as to Rudy Gobert's whereabouts? Have you been visiting Flight Tracker and flight
Mm-hmm.
statuses? If so, do not post those on Twitter because Elon gets very, very upset with people posting those. But what information do you have, Mike, on Rudy Gobert's whereabouts?
Yeah, it's pretty fair to say that this is his partner slash girlfriend is having a baby. He mentioned last month that he would quote do anything to be there, and it wasn't even a conversation with Finch. So pretty easy to surmise that's what's going on here. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or today or tomorrow, but Sounds like he's gonna miss. I jumped on it. I bet Denver with the news hit and got a good line there. So yeah, I think he's out, which is massive deal. As great as Ant's been, Gobert has been fantastic. Those breakups of the alley oops down the stretch were huge. His defense in space has been magnificent. So I think it's a huge deal. I think they would go to Nas Reed here. We see them go to slow mo, but I just think Nas coming off that fourth quarter, who it looked like he was going to close. Cat played really well, but he picked up 2 fouls in 9 seconds in the third quarter, and then 2 fouls in the fourth quarter within like 35 seconds. If not for those two big whiffs in like a minute, he would have been having a really strong game overall. So I think they kind of have it both ways and play big. I don't think they want to go to slow mo. I think slow mo's kind of lost his fastball as a defender, and I think Na is just too small. But they might go to Na. I think they're pretty comfortable considering the fact that they did put Jaden McDaniels on Michael Porter Jr. And then Ant-Man starting on Jamal Murray. It might be Na, but I don't know. I just think they kind of play it big here. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's someone's nickname starting with NA, whether it's W or Z is TBD. But I'm leaning Nas Reed gets the start for Gobert if he does miss this one.
Yeah, a little bit more than 2 words there in predicting the starter tonight. Not just Nas Reed from Mike Gallagher, but so we saw 2 games this season without Gobert with Karl-Anthony Towns. Kyle Anderson did start those 2 games. We'll note just a different scenario when you're talking about regular season versus playoffs. Playoffs, you start to incorporate more of the matchup stuff. Also, during the regular season, a lot of times you're like, oh, Nas is our 6-man scorer. We want to kind of keep him in this role. I'll note that one of the things that clearly is different about the way that Minnesota can defend Denver than any other team that's been able to do it so far is the ability to play with size. And that was a question mark that Nikola Jokic was asked after the game. And he basically paused and said, clone me is the way that I can handle the size better. Right. So that's like immediately just that response suggests that the size is annoying to Jokic. And I think anything that is annoying to Jokic, you want to continue to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know Kyle Anderson has guarded Jokic in the past. Different scenarios, though. That was Kyle Anderson guarding Jokic largely when Karl-Anthony Towns was out. And Rudy Gobert, that was allowing Rudy Gobert specifically to guard Aaron Gordon and protect the paint and all the kind of rim runs that Aaron Gordon does from the dunker spot. And so I think it's just a different scenario because Cat's not going to defend Aaron Gordon in the same way that Rudy Gobert was. So I don't think the things that Kyle Anderson does that can make things a little bit more annoying for Jokic aren't really there if Karl-Anthony Towns is the back line behind him. So I'm with you. I think this is Nas Reed. I think the next most likely option is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, as you alluded to. They're very comfortable playing Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Him and Nas Reed were the top minutes men off the bench in game 1. I think it would have been Nickeil if Nas Reed didn't get super hot in the fourth quarter in terms of leading the bench units in minutes. And so that's the the group they're most comfortable with. I think starting with Nickeil off the bench allows you more flexibility and just doesn't like crowd the roster a little bit, right? Like you start Nickeil in the starting lineup. Now you've got a bench unit that has two like 4s in Kyle Anderson and Nas Reed or 4 or 5. It gets a little bit wonky. So I think it's just a little bit clearer from a substitution pattern. So I think Nas Reed most likely, if Gobert is to miss this game, I think he would likely then fill kind of the Gobert spot in terms of the defensive stuff. I think Cat would still get the primary responsibility on Jokic. I'm not sure of that just because I'm not sure if they view Cat's foul issues as a big enough concern to give Nas the priority spot there. But Nas, to me, has a little bit more verticality and size and rim contest to him than Cat. But either way, I think that's the most likely duo if we are to see Rudy Gobert miss this game.
Yeah, and then they'll be mixing in more Monte Morris. They're basically play smaller in the backcourt for the way they're going to have to shift minutes. Like you're basically getting more Jaden at the 4 that'll open up a little bit more minutes at the 3 and 2 and 1 for those guys. So expecting Monte Morris to fill in. That's probably it. I don't think they're going to go to J Mac or anything like that.
Yeah, agreed. All right. And then the Denver side of things, Jamal Murray still questionable with this left calf strain. Really no points in the first half for Jamal Murray, then kind of found his footing a little bit in the second half. It was a little bit too late as the game kind of turned more offensive on the whole. He looked to be struggling defensively quite a bit, just has not looked fully healthy for me with Jamal Murray. So still questionable with this calf strain. If I'm a Denver fan, I'm hoping we can get through this game tonight with him in that like 34 to 37 minute range, not to the 40 to 41, 42, and then get these 3 days off and see how things improve. But what are your expectations for Jamal Murray tonight?
Yeah, didn't look right. Mentioned the scoreless first half. Yeah, really struggled to get around Ant, get around Jaden. Nah did probably the worst job I'd say on him, but still did fine. So yeah, really struggled. So not right. We talked about it on the pod. He has concerns about leaving his feet. Certainly a thing that he's going to need given the length of the Wolves. So yeah, expecting limitations here. Again, pretty long stints on the bench. So they know he's not right. Was held out of practice at times. The broadcast painted even a darker picture on
Yep.
Jamal Murray's injury. So yeah, not great. Like you said, get through this one, rest up for a few days, and then hopefully you're able to go fuller. But this is clearly not right. He still had the wrap on him overall. So yeah, pretty big concern. Not having Gobert is a pretty huge deal. You think Gobert, you think rim protection, as we've been saying. Man, he was Gobert just in the Sun series, man. When he was out on the island, he just suffocated. So that's going to really make Jamal Murray actually look a lot better if Gobert can't go.
The other thing that I note with Jamal right now is he has said specifically that lateral side to side stuff is not really bothering him from a calf perspective. It's just all the vertical and kind of jumping aspect. And
Mhm.
with the way that they play defense, with kind of either push Gobert out and then isolate, or they give you the deep drop looks. And the deep drop looks, that's where you need the elevation for the floater. You need to be able to go
Mhm.
up on the floater, and that's available to Jamal in the series. But I think he's having trouble kind of finding that rhythm. He got into a little bit more rhythm in the second half of that game. Hopefully that carries over. But the side to side stuff is not as useful when you've got the length of Jaden McDaniels on you, or Rudy Gobert when you get isolated out there. Being able to beat them side to side is not really the way that you're going to be able to create space for yourself. So
Mhm.
I think it's a particularly limiting injury for Jamal Murray, and I'm concerned about how it's going to continue to impact his performance in this series.
Yep.
All right, that will do it for this edition of Stubbs Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. That is hopefully still broadcasting on YouTube as StreamYard lets us know one way or another. As always, if you'd like to support our content, the best way to do so is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're in pursuit of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season and would love your help in getting there. We're about 1,000 short of that number so far, so tell your friends, let them all know about the great content that we're putting out here. We've got another series preview podcast that we just recorded this morning that will be up on this YouTube channel shortly, breaking down the other 3 series that have not started yet in the conference semifinals here. So you can check that out on the YouTube channel as well. If you're interested in any of our premium content behind the paywall, you can find myself and Mike Gallagher doing Establish the Show tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern, breaking down the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, and of course the flag plants as we assess this 2-game slate from a DFS perspective. And if you're interested in any of our premium DFS product offerings that include Mike Gallagher's matchup column, or our props offerings that include the prop recommendations, full access to full stat projections, so on and so forth, you can check out establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our premium product offerings. If you are enjoying this free content and want to see it free for next season, the best way to do so is to smash that like button and help feed that algorithm. By feeding that algorithm, it helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your lineups and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.